Здравствуйте, как дела? So, as the video title suggests, there has been a billboard in Pennsylvania that's been popping up that has actually been getting a lot of people's attention. So that's what we are going to be talking about today, right now. Let's get things started in Afghanistan. In May of 2021, Taliban units occupied and captured districts in rural and mountainous parts of the country. These areas were initially described as remote and unimportant, but these areas were ideal because Taliban forces could easily leverage power amongst the natives and hide amongst them from Afghan security forces, as well as build connections between tribal leaders. Taliban troops would also utilize social media. They would post whenever they had taken control of new areas and towns. This caused a lot of members of the Afghan army to lose morale.
We gave them every chance to determine their own future. What we could not provide them was the will to fight for that future.
The sun was about to go down. They announced that they had come to a truce, and the military commanders up top and the higher up in the military had decided to stand down, have their soldiers put down their weapons, give up all of their heavy gear, their Humvees, their artillery, all of their bigger weapons. They literally just left the cars running and went to the airfield, and the Taliban agreed to give a truce and let these planes fly in and fly everyone out. So we spent a lot of time on the front line with the fighters in Kandahar, and they were exhausted. So they were outgunned, they were underfed, they were undersupplied, and they just were exhausted by it all. So this idea that they didn't have the gumption, they didn't have the ability or the will to get into the fight, it's not true, and it's disrespectful of these people that were really fighting. And when the dominoes started falling and these people were all handing it over, the bigger reality is the soldiers that did want to fight didn't have the support. Thousands of Taliban guys compared to just a few hundred willing soldiers is not a fair fight.
So another thing is that Afghanistan is still a tribal territory. People tend to keep loyalty to their tribes more than to the idea of a unified Afghanistan. Now, let's talk about the US. In 2020, the then Trump administration signed a deal with the Taliban to pull forces out of the country. This deal would come to haunt the Afghanistan because when Taliban forces began to mount, the US continued this process of leaving rather than staying, a decision that many have criticized. In the end, nearly $5.8 trillion and thousands of lives over 20 years seems to have been a waste to many people, both in Afghanistan and the US, and also to many people around the world. One of these people is former Pennsylvania State Senator Scott Wagner. Wagner is an outspoken supporter of the 45th President Donald Trump and obviously not a fan of Joe Biden. Scott Wagner has spent about $15,000 on 12 billboards across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Yeah, right. So as you guys could see, the billboard is definitely real. So I've been talking to a couple of people, around the area, and honestly, there seems to be mixed opinions. Some people think that the billboard, that the billboards are funny, and others not so much. So far, there are only 2 billboards that I'm aware of, but the other one should be popping up around the state in the coming months. I assume they'll be featured off of main roadways, so if you're driving in Pennsylvania, keep an eye out. Thanks for watching, and until we meet again, пока!